I just want to say that while all of that is correct, and I agree with most of it, I also feel obligated to talk about the onus that's on the parent. And for me, I wholeheartedly believe that the first level of education for your child should come from the home anyway.
Amen.
So your child should be confident and competent enough that when they go to school, they can relay back what, if anything, wrong that the school is doing. And I will say this about the IEP class. I had an IEP from the time I was in the 4th grade to the time I was in the 11th grade. And the crazy thing is, during that period, I actually thought that something was academically wrong with me until a Caucasian lady actually set me down and told me, like, listen, there's nothing wrong with you. If you take your time, you can do anything in this assignment. I had to take the TABE test. So once I became privy to, one, having the confidence in myself from an academic standpoint, and two, now I'm looking at it in retrospect, and I'm looking, my diagnosis of giving me the ISP was essentially just me being disengaged because of my environmental factors. It didn't have nothing to do with my intellectual capacity. I was just traumatized by living in a trap house, stepping over fiends in the morning, seeing people get shot, seeing fiends with needles in their arms. There was really nothing intellectually wrong with me. So I will say this, even if your child, because at this point, if they got the ISP, it's too late to prevent the ISP.
They can take it back, no. They can take it back.
No, what I mean, like they have, but that's what I'm saying, it's a way to get out. Don't look at that like you're defeated already.
Nah.
Right? Because for me, I took my ISP personally once I found out that I was hoodwinked and they tricked me. So I made a personal, conscious effort to outperform every kid in Rutgers that came from these preparatory schools that had the best tutoring and everything, because at that point, education was personal to me. So I would just say that we have to make a very, very strong conscious effort to make sure our kids have a strong educational foundation from the beginning. So what that means is, if the grades is not good, like Dr. Umar said, I don't want to see no damn Jordans on nobody's feet. I don't want to see no babies in the room. I don't want to see any of that. Right? And my kids know. Okay, I'm about to get off. And I think the best advice, which might seem small, is we don't call it quiet hour. We have study hour. That is extremely important to have study hours 7 days a week, even if it ain't school. That is extremely important. That 1 hour will put your kid in front of their counterpart by at least a year. At least. 3 minutes are up. Thank you. That's the politician.
Yeah, that's why we gotta come get it. So next, all right, I'm coming up to you, brother, okay? And I got you.
On what you said about the
Hold that up close,
I just wanted to touch on what you said about the ADHD and the learning disability.
It's still too low. ADHD.
You gotta speak up, young lady.
ADHD and learning disability, because I kind of hop job from job, similar to what you were saying about, working in these places and not really agreeing with the policy. So when I started, I worked in a psych hospital, and I used to come home and cry to my husband because of what you see with the community and people, how easily we are to diagnose our kids.
Yes.
And how that leads to now they're civilly committed in a state facility, and they don't have their rights to, I'm like, okay, well, let me leave there and go to corrections. And then I go to corrections, and it's the same thing. You go to ADSEC, and ADSEC is nothing but young black men. You can't give them a book to read because you have to follow this curriculum that they give you.
That's right.
You can't even tell them, okay, this is what you should read, because you could lose your job, because you have to follow what they tell you, how the policy, and even when it comes to what you're teaching them and what the class is. It's strict, it is what it is, and you can't break free from that.
unless the parents organize to change it.
Right.
Correct.
The parents are the strongest force in the schools. But we're disorganized and too many parents are disinterested. Parents have all the power. If all the black parents in Jersey City came together and said, we want this, we want this, we want this, they have no choice. But they know that half of us don't care. Another quarter distracted, and then you got that 1% that wants to do better, but they ain't got no leverage because they ain't got no manpower.
And then, a lot of people don't know that what happens is, now these young boys, they can't find someone to be with them. So what happens, they go out, they end up committing a crime, they end up raping somebody, touching somebody. Now they're civilly committed in a correctional facility after serving their time. They get evaluated by these psychologists. It takes 2 psychologists. They're signing their rights away. They don't know how to read because the majority of them that's in this facility only have a 2nd and 3rd grade education, and they spend their life there. They die there. The discharge rate is 5 people a year, and most of them end up coming back because they violate.
Yeah. And a lot of school districts, I don't know about Jersey City, a lot of school districts, once you get arrested, you cannot return to the regular school district. Is that true here?
No. We actually have kids. In fact, most of the kids on my caseload, they go back with the bracelet. What's the name? Yeah.
But y'all advocate for them.
Oh no, we have a whole wraparound service for the kids and everything. Yeah.
But it starts early on because these kids, they don't know how to read. They don't know how to write. They're writing on a 2nd grade level. They don't know what they're signing. There's no one there but with them.
That's true. That's
There's
what I mean.
no
Y'all
street for
advocate.
them. They literally signed their rights to the state and didn't know what they were doing.
They need a handle.
She would literally try to talk to them in code form, like, you sure, do you know what you're doing? Are you
Wow.
sure?
And they don't have an advocate
They
assigned?
don't have an advocate
If
because
she
it's
tried
a
to do it,
setup.
she could get in trouble for it, so she's lying.
So I end up leaving there. I end up working with DDD now. I'm with developmental disability, and it brings me back to what you were saying about the ADHD and the learning disability. Because you're right. These kids, they have the IEP, they go up to school, the parents are getting, some people are getting Social Security, the kids are end up getting Social Security.
Yes, that's true. They like
They're
that
arguing
check.
with their parents for their Social
They like that
Security.
check.
And now you're of age. The Social Security stops. They don't know what to do. The state does not pay for you. You come to me and you're like, listen, I have an ADHD diagnosis. I have a learning disability. That's not a DDD diagnosis. I wish I could help you. And there's times that I do. Because if your IQ is low enough, I will justify it with a learning disability because I service Essex County. That's the county I work for, and I deal with only Essex County cases. And it breaks my heart, and I will do that, and I'll advocate with our psychologists for that. But a learning disability diagnosis on an IEP is not a developmental disability. An ADHD diagnosis is not a developmental disability. So I say all that to say that if anyone has any questions about if their child have autism, I am more than happy to sit down with them to complete the NJCAT because I advocate for our families when I'm sitting with them, when I'm doing the NJCAT, the New Jersey Comprehension Assessment Tool, which is what gives them the tier, which is what gives them the funding that comes with the services that it's gonna take to provide for these kids the state is gonna pay for, because I see the families from Montclair who have these advocates with them, and they're getting a tier DA because the acuity, and they're justifying, well, he pulled one string out his hair, so now he's pulling hair. Whereas I'm like, well, can your son adjust the water temperature? And a lot of our families are like, yeah, but you're doing it for him. If you weren't there, would he be able to do it? So I try and I explain it, but families, sometimes they get offended that you're asking them if their child can do this, right? So we have to sometimes break out of that mentality that our child can really, and I'm not talking about the ADHD and the learning disability, I'm talking about the real low autism and the CP diagnosis and, you know, those things. Because you need the funding from the state when they're over 21, and that's what's gonna pay for the services that they're gonna get. You could print the assessment online and complete it before you go to these assessments. It's nothing difficult about it. It's online. You could print it and go there with it and have it completed and answer the whole thing. So when someone is asking you these questions, you can know how to answer it.
Hey, Ashia, Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Some people gotta leave,
I know.
but they got the book. Can they get a quick
But are they,
picture?
I wanted to take pictures of the people with the book, and I also wanted him to be able to sign. Are they out?
Yeah, no, it's
Hey, yeah, can we start that, Dr. Umar, while they ask?
We can,
Someone
real
has-
quick.